2 in the morning. The room would reek of isolation and silence if you weren't glued to that fucking phone. Another night of spying on other people's lives. The cold glow of the screen burns your eyes as you drool over that badass guy's wife. You feel like crap, alone in the dark, lusting after what will never be yours. Wake up. There's your biggest enemy, the surgical illusion of Instagram, an invisible billionaire monster designed to crush the mind of an ordinary man alone in his room. This fucking algorithm throws a false promise of success in your face and shows off untouchable women as if life were a luxury menu. The real danger is not the distance between you and that mansion. It's how you accepted becoming a drug addict of other people's approval. You swallowed the hook of disguised neediness. Now, your mental health is bleeding because you turned the desire for someone else's wife into the only fuel for his fucked up ego. If you stay here until the end, you will discover the pathetic weakness that makes you crawl for emotional scraps. I will show you the real cost of living on appearances and how this silent envy is digging your fucking mental grave. It's a pure reality check. If you have the stomach to handle the naked truth, subscribe to the channel right away. If you're weak, you can get out of here. Imagine the following scenario. Early tomorrow morning, you wake up with the alarm clock blaring in your ear. You drag yourself to work, hit the crushing traffic in your usual fucking gray routine, and halfway there, you realize that absolutely no one cares if you're alive or dead. The atmosphere around you is cold, heavy. Your stomach gives that familiar knot and your chest tightens with the physical weight of rejection. It's the harsh feeling of failure hitting your throat. You look to the side and see the guy in the car, luxury with that perfect woman. Your wounded ego screams, but the truth is much more violent and lonely. You are just trying to use someone's body to camouflage your own despair. Let's open the game in the middle of this dark alley. Modern man has developed an unhealthy taste for plastic aesthetics. You look at someone else's wife exactly the same way you look at a brand new Mustang or a fucking Ferrari parked on the avenue. Like a glass trophy to rub in society's face. Your brain, fucked by the addiction to validation, creates the illusion that that perfect skin and that smile practiced for the camera would solve your chronic lack. But you willfully ignore the psychological rot and hypocrisy that hides behind that flawless Instagram facade. The emotional breakdown in this game is surgical. To sustain this theater of appearances in the United States, the human mind fails and falls ill in silence. Behind the filters and expensive trips, what exists is a silent desperation, a mastodontic emptiness filled with black and white medicines and crazy charges. When rejection or abandonment knocks on the door, that beautiful shell doesn't hold back. That's when anxiety turns into physical pressure, a violent tightness in your chest that takes the air out of you in the middle of the night. You are lusting after a ghost. You are longing for the life of a couple who hate each other when the camera turns off. Plastic men and women who use their status to avoid facing the mirror. The harvest here is inevitable. Whoever plants an obsession with appearances reaps a brutal and incurable loneliness. You're selling your fucking peace of mind to wish for a trophy that's breaking inside, but the real hell isn't what you see on the outside. It's the price you pay to get in. And why do you want to enter this hell? Let's pull the truth. Your desire was never about the woman. It was about your own fucking impotence. This is the trap of camouflaged envy. You look at that successful guy and your dehydrated ego cries. You live in a one-room apartment, drive a boxy car that society says belongs to, failures, and project salvation for your insignificance onto the other person's partner. The average man in America has been domesticated to believe that if he has a woman with a magazine body in the passenger seat, he will finally become a real man. It's a pathetic and aggressive lack. The collapse here occurs in the crack of your wounded pride. You enter a state of paranoia and unhealthy comparison that drains your vital energy. Every post you see from that perfect life needles your stomach with silent poison. Your mind sabotages your reality, making you disregard what is real on the table to pursue a status that you wouldn't even know how to afford. It's the American have-to-be culture crushing your working-class brain. You go into a loop of self-hatred, feeling a suffocating grip on your throat. It makes you happy every time you realize that your ordinary routine isn't shining. You accepted the diagnosis that you are shit because you don't have your neighbor's toy. But status is a cold gear that grinds suckers every day. And it's exactly when you try to steal that status that your fucking world collapses. Now put your foot down and face the unfiltered effect of betrayal. Let's say you can do it. Let's say that your illegal scheme, your obsession works, and you manage to drag the other person's wife into your bed, in hiding in the dark. And there, what happens in your head when the excitement passes and the silence in the room returns? Clinical reality is a punch in the gut. If she was able to cheat on the guy who gave her everything on Instagram, the guy who paid the bills and supported the perfect couples theater, what the fuck makes you think you're special? That your one-room apartment charm is enough? Paranoia begins to eat away at your brain from the inside, piece by piece. The biological collapse of lying is visceral. You don't win a trophy. You get a direct ticket to the hell of chronic distrust. Your stomach turns. Your heart races with every cell. Phone vibration and the tightness in your chest becomes your new alarm clock. You begin to rummage through her nets, monitor her steps, drown in a sea of silent despair. You discover that betrayal has a putrid smell that sticks to your skin and doesn't go away. The modern man is so naive that he thinks that someone else's mistake validates his own masculinity. But the truth is that you have just locked yourself in a cage of pure anxiety. You became a watchman of other people's secrets, reaping exactly the misfortune you sowed with your own arrogance. Because whoever accepts being the spare tire dies knowing that it will never be the main destination. This is where we encounter the epidemic of acute poverty. The isolated man in the United States today is fucked. The clinical truth, devoid of any romanticism, is that modern loneliness has left the mind of the common man so dehydrated that he accepts drinking even sewage water to pretend he has quenched his thirst. You are so desperate for a shred of attention, so overwhelmed by the routine of waking up, working, and returning to an empty apartment that your dignity has become a cheap bargaining chip. You accept the humiliating role of being a committed woman's secret toy, the dirty secret she uses to inflate her own ego when she fights with her husband. This social collapse is a portrait of the failure of self-respect. Faced with abandonment and the lack of real connections, the mind sabotages its own values. The guy accepts lowering himself, spending money he doesn't have, and destroying another man's family just to have the illusion that he is not invisible in the world. It's a chemical dependency on validation that makes your chest burn with anxiety and your stomach turn. You convince yourself that you are a rebel, a conqueror, but the mirror doesn't lie. You are just an emotionally numb person trying to fill an internal abyss with the remains of someone else's life. You destroy your character for a moment of distraction in the dark. And the worst thing is when you wake up the next day and realize how bad you messed up. And then we come to the final collapse, the empty room, and the blood price that reality exacts. The illusion is over. The fucking adrenaline of risk has evaporated. And what is left on the table? Nothing. You spent your vital energy, fried your neurons in paranoia, and burned your dignity on the altar of other people's needs. Now, you're back in the same one-room apartment, staring at the cold walls in the crushing silence of the American night. The human mind cannot bear the weight of knowing that it has exchanged its own respect for an Instagram scam. Anxiety now hits with the force of a hangover, a silent desperation that tightens your throat and reminds you that you are still in exactly the same place, alone. The hypocrisy of modern appearances charges abusive interest. You thought that stealing your neighbor's trophy would cure you of social invisibility, but the truth is that you just dug a hole deeper in your chest. This is the clinical diagnosis of the common man who lives on crumbs. Total exhaustion of the soul. There's no background music, there's no likes, there's no one to applaud you in the dark. It's just you, your fucking pillow, and the knowledge that the character you threw in the trash won't come back in the morning. You tried to fill a deep existential void using the body of a woman who was never yours, and now the ceiling feels like it's going to collapse on your head. The bill has arrived, brother, and you will have to pay every penny in silence. Enough with the massage. This is the verdict, and there is no happy ending for those who live by crawling for scraps. No plastic woman, no life in a window will cure this emptiness that you carry in your chest. As long as you stay up late coveting the neighbor's grass and crying for what is not yours, you will continue to be just one and stupid spectator of other people's happiness. Swallow your tears, turn off that screen, and look in the mirror. Your dignity went away because you let it. Do you want to get out of the abyss? So stop clowning around and start building your own self-respect on the sledgehammer, alone in the dark. Subscribe to this channel if you have the blood in your veins to handle the raw realism. If not, you remain a ghost. It's over. One last observation here, just to make the scenario clear. You can continue to wish for the impossible and have nothing. You can look at the screen and solve your need in 5 against 1, alone in the room, which is safer. Because if you happen to be the smart guy who gets someone else's wife, keep your eyes open. There are guys who will find out, let go of her fucking hand, and tell you two to fuck off. But there are others, partner, who don't care about idle talk. There are guys who will put a bullet in your fucking head before you can put your pants on. Think about that before playing smart.